Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So recently I've been reading through the comments on my videos and I feel like I've been getting a lot of requests to share my absolute favorite setting powders, all of the best options for oily skin, or when you want a powder that's going to lock your foundation into place all day long. So I thought I would sit down and just maybe kind of chat about all of the powders that I currently own and let you guys know which ones are my favorite, and then also a few that didn't work out for me. So right now at this point in my collection, I currently have 10 powders. I have pressed powders, loose powders. I am someone who loves to try out different powder formulas. I've probably tried like 20 or 30 powders over the years, and I have found some that really work well for me and some that I don't really like. So for today's video, I thought I would just kind of share a review on every powder that I own because I use some of these when I want my skin to look super matte, but I might reach for other powders when I want my skin to look really smooth. I have drugstore powders, high-end powders. Everything in today's video is cruelty-free, and every powder is also vegan with the exception of the Flower Beauty powder, which I'll talk about. So I hope you guys enjoy today's video. Let's jump into it and we'll chat about powder. So I have 5 pressed powders to talk about and then 5 loose powders. Let me start with the powder foundation that I currently have in my makeup collection. I'm definitely curious to try out some other powder foundations, but I told myself that I had to use this one up first before purchasing another one. I think I'm going to break that rule only because this one is just way too light for me to use during the summertime, and I do really like the formula for the summertime, so I might purchase it in a different shade or try out another formula. If you guys have any powder foundations that you love, please let me know, but I do really enjoy this one. This one is the Urban Decay Stay Naked The Fix. So this one comes in 24 shades. It is a weightless, long-wearing powder foundation with buildable medium coverage. They say that it has a real skin matte finish that's supposed to last up to 16 hours. When I initially tried this, I was using it as a setting powder and I didn't like how it looked on my skin because I felt like it looked very dry, almost a little bit heavy, but when you use it in the way that it's meant to be used as an actual powder foundation in place of liquid foundation, it looks really good on the skin, especially if you have oily skin. It is definitely more of a matte powder, so initially it can look a little bit powdery and slightly dry, but once your natural skin kind of, works with the powder, it starts to look a lot more natural on the skin. I like this one because it does have enough coverage to cover redness or, for me, acne scarring, but it allows my natural skin to show through, so it doesn't look like I'm actually wearing foundation, which is really nice. I would say that this one really is more of a medium coverage product, so it's not going to completely even out your skin tone fully, but it does cover what you want it to cover while allowing your natural skin to show through. And it does stay pretty matte on the skin throughout the day, which is why I do think it would be a great option for oily skin or even during the summertime if you don't want a liquid foundation. If liquid foundation tends to melt off your skin or look super oily within a few hours, try the Urban Decay Stay Naked The Fix powder foundation because it does last really well on my oily skin. Now there is a drugstore powder that I like to use. This one's not actually marketed as a powder foundation, but I have been using it in that way lately. I also use it as a setting powder if I want a little bit more coverage. This one is from Flower Beauty. This one is the Light Illusion Perfecting Powder, and I have the shade Porcelain. So this one comes in 8 shades. It's supposed to give you more of a soft focus effect, but it also has medium to buildable coverage, so I do think it is a great option to use as a powder foundation if you don't want something too heavy. They say that it has blurring pigments in it, so it's supposed to give your skin like a very smooth, even look, and I would definitely say that that is the case. So when I use this as a powder foundation, again, typically I will just take like a buffing brush and really blend it into the skin. But if I want to use it to set my foundation into place and use it to provide a little bit more coverage, I'll take a damp beauty sponge and press it into the skin. This one looks amazing on the skin. If you deal with a lot of texture, you will love this product because it really does have like that very subtle smoothing blurring effect, almost like you applied a real life filter to your skin, and it just kind of glides over any texture issues and gives it more of like a soft focus effect. Let me talk about 2 super mattifying powders. These are 2 of my favorites for the summertime, and if you have extremely oily skin or it is super hot and humid where you live, you are going to love these. So let me start with the high-end option. This one is the Urban Decay All Nighter Waterproof Setting Powder. So this one comes in 1 shade. Now they do market this one as a translucent powder, and I wouldn't call it completely translucent. It does not leave a white cast on the skin because it does have like a tint of color to it, but if you have a super fair skin tone, it's probably going to be a little bit too dark for you, so just keep that in mind. But this This one is meant to be a setting or finishing powder that makes your foundation waterproof. It's supposed to provide like all day shine and oil control that lasts up to 18 hours. I've tried a lot of products that claim to be waterproof or sweat-proof or heat resistant. This one is the most waterproof, sweat-proof powder that I've ever tried. I have worn this in like 90-degree heat when my skin should be extremely oily and my makeup should be melting off. But because I had this product in place, it really did lock my foundation into place so well and kept my skin matte for such a long time. It's a very super lightweight product, so it doesn't feel like you're wearing something super heavy or cakey on the skin, but it does work well to lock your foundation into place. I don't typically use this during the majority of the year. I really just use this during the summertime because I don't find that I need something quite as mattifying the majority of the year. But oily skin in the summer heat is just so hard to control. And even when you use like a mattifying primer and a mattifying foundation, sometimes your skin still feels and looks really oily. So if that is the case, I do recommend buying this. I think you will love it. I go through one of these every single year because it is such a summertime staple for me. As for my favorite drugstore mattifying powder, that is the Essence All About Matte Fixing Compact Powder. So this one is $4. It's a lot less expensive and it is super, super mattifying. This one has just a few cons that I don't feel like the Urban Decay powder does have, but I also still like this one and I typically go through one of these every year as well. In fact, this is a new one because I just finished up my other one. So this one is meant to set your makeup into place, or you can use it for touch-ups throughout the day. It is super mattifying. Again, it's a very, very lightweight powder, but it is pretty powdery. The Urban Decay powder almost has like a silky feel to it, whereas this one has more of like a chalky feel to it, which doesn't sound appealing. But again, if you're using this on a super hot day or you have extremely oily skin, sometimes it's nice to start the base with something really mattifying because you know your skin's going to get really oily within just a few hours. Now, I know that some people have told me they have experienced flashback with this powder. That's not something that I've personally experienced, but I did want to mention that it is supposed to be a translucent powder, but it kind of has a little bit of like a brightening effect to it. So if you're someone who's trying to avoid flashback in your photos, maybe skip over this powder and go for the Urban Decay. But I do think that this one is a nice option for day-to-day wear, and it's also a great option for touch-ups because it is so lightweight. I'll just like throw it in my bag and quickly like touch up my makeup throughout the day. Let me share a powder that I have in my collection that I don't love. I just picked this up during the Sephora VIB sale, so I haven't really had the chance to declutter it. I've been trying to make it work well for me, but I just don't think it's meant for my skin type. But it could work for you, so I did want to mention it. This is from Kosas. It is their Cloud Set powder. It has a longer, more official name, which I'll put on the screen when I do a close-up shot, but it retails for $34. This one comes in 10 shades. It's supposed to be a super soft, sheer, setting and smoothing powder. It's baked with skincare, so it's supposed to have some really good skincare benefits. It's basically supposed to feel like nothing and give you very light coverage, but sweep away any really obvious shine without diminishing your glowy skin. I think if you have dry skin, this might be more so a good option for you. If you have dry skin, I don't know if you're really watching this video for recommendations, but if you are, this is my #1 recommendation. When I talked about this in a review video, I said that I thought it would be good for people with dry skin, and a ton of people who had dry skin said they love this powder too. So if you have dry skin, maybe try it out, or if you have oily skin and you want something so incredibly lightweight and sheer, something that just provides like a light layer between your foundation and your cheek products, then this might be a good option for you as well. For me, it's just not a good option. I just don't like the texture of it, the way that it looks on my skin. It doesn't do anything for me personally, but because I have it in my collection, I wanted to share my thoughts on it. Okay, so moving on to loose powders. I kind of go back and forth between what I prefer, like a loose setting powder, a pressed setting powder. I think I reach for them for different purposes. So my favorite powder in the entire world is the Too Faced Peach Perfect powder, but unfortunately they are officially discontinuing this. If you love this powder as much as I do, at the time that I'm filming this, you can actually get it on the Too Faced website for like $14. I have a bunch of backups. I'm really embarrassed to say that because I was reorganizing my makeup yesterday and I thought I had like 2 or 3, but I actually have 5, which is a lot. I didn't know that I had so many, but I thought they were discontinuing this at so many different points in time. So if it was on sale, I would purchase one, and in the back of my drawer, I found like 3 other ones. But I feel like I'm okay with that because now I feel like I'm set for a very long time. Powder is not something that expires as quickly as other products, so I think I'll be okay, but I don't know what I'm going to do because this, out of all of the powders that I'm mentioning, is my absolute favorite. I've been using it for years. So if you guys do have another alternative, please let me know. And if you're looking for another alternative, let me share a few of the other loose powders that I do like. Let's start with these two from e.l.f. So e.l.f. has two loose powders that I really enjoy. The first one is the matte setting powder. So I have the shade Light. This one retails for $6. This one comes in 4 shades. It's supposed to be an ultra fine, weightless setting powder that gives your skin a soft, blurred matte finish while extending the wear of your foundation. I really like the texture of this one because it is very, very lightweight. It's not quite as thick or heavy as the Too Faced powder, so I do find that it does set my foundation into place without feeling like I'm wearing anything on my skin, but I don't find that it necessarily lasts as long as the Too Faced powder, which is why I usually opt for that one. So if you're someone who's looking for a lightweight mattifying powder to lock your foundation into place, I think you'll like this one. And out of all of the like drugstore matte setting powders that I'm going to talk about, this really is my absolute favorite one, and it does come in a couple of different shades to choose from. So I do enjoy this one, but even more than this, I think I like the e.l.f. Halo Glow setting powder a little bit better, but I don't use this as a setting powder. I more so use it as a finishing powder. So this one comes in 6 shades. Again, it is a loose setting powder. It's supposed to feel weightless on the skin and create like a smooth, soft glow without adding like shimmer or glitter, and also just blur the skin for that soft focused effect. This one actually replaced the Hourglass powder that I had in my collection because it really does give your skin like that soft, ethereal look without feeling super heavy or looking heavy on the skin. So if you have dry skin, or again, you're wanting something that feels and looks like it's barely there, this is going to be a great option for you. Now you can use this as a setting powder, and I think it would be a good alternative to the Kosas powder if you want a loose option. I think that it really does feel like a high-end powder, or if you like the Hourglass loose setting powder, try this one because not only does it come in different shades, it really looks so good on the skin. I think it looks better than the Hourglass powder. So Urban Decay did release a loose version of their all-nighter setting powder, and I was so excited to try it out because I've loved the all-nighter pressed powder for such a long time. I hope they're not discontinuing this anytime soon. I hope that's not why they came out with this one because, to be honest, this one just doesn't do the same thing for my skin. Now, this is a very, very lightweight setting powder. It feels very similar to the e.l.f. Halo Glow setting powder or like the Hourglass translucent powder if you've tried that one, but it doesn't necessarily lock my foundation into place all day long. It does give my skin like a very smooth effect. So if you're dealing with a lot of texture or you have wrinkles or you feel like you need like that blurred effect on your skin for whatever reason, then you might actually like the texture of this one because it does look very smooth on the skin overall. My issue with it is that my skin gets pretty oily after a few hours, which is the exact opposite when I use the pressed version of it. So if you have extremely oily skin, this one might not lock your foundation into place as well as other products like the pressed version. My other issue with this one is that I do feel like my foundation will tend to settle a little bit more quickly when I use this. So I do have wrinkles around my chin, between my brows, on my forehead, and if I use more of like a blurring powder, you know, like the Too Faced powder, typically my foundation won't settle into those fine lines until like the very end of the day. But when I use this product, I feel like they start to be a little bit more prominent sooner. So basically, if you're looking for a skin-like finish, then you'll enjoy this one. But if you're looking for a matte finish or you're looking for longevity, then I would skip over it. It also comes with that net packaging, which for me, I just don't like that. I know the Milk Makeup Setting Powder also has the net packaging. I feel like it just ends up getting so messy for me. So it's just not my favorite. I do still have it in my collection, but again, it might be one that I end up decluttering. I just figured I would share my thoughts on it since I do currently own it. Actually, a drugstore powder that does feel very similar to that Urban Decay powder is this one from Pacifica. This one is the Cherry Velvet Matte Translucent Setting Powder. So I grabbed this one because I thought it would be a good dupe for the Too Faced Peach Powder, but it's a little bit different. It's very, very lightweight. I would say that I could probably use these side by side and they would give a very similar effect, except the Pacifica powder is slightly more mattifying. The Pacifica powder does have like a white tint, whereas the Urban Decay kind of has like a slightly yellow tint, so that's something to keep in mind too. This one might actually cause flashback, just like the Essence powder. I don't know, because I personally just don't take like a lot of photos with the flash, so for me that's not something I really think about, but it is something that I will keep in mind moving forward as I test products out. The issue with this one is that it has a very strong, intense cherry scent. If you are sensitive to scents, skip over this one because it is one of the most fragrant setting powders that I've ever tried, and I feel like you can smell it throughout the day because it's on your face all over. I actually don't mind the scent. I think it's kind of nice, but it is very, very strong, so I just wanted to mention that. This one also has the net packaging, so again, if you hate that net style packaging, just keep that in mind. Oh my gosh, I always forget how strong this scent is until I open it up. It smells like Fun Dip. So it does smell good, it's very, very noticeable. But anyway, as for the actual quality, it does keep my skin matte longer than the Urban Decay powder, but again, I do feel like a lot of my foundation tends to settle a little bit more when I use this one compared to the Too Faced powder. Nothing quite compares to the Too Faced powder, so I'm on the hunt for a good alternative, but I do think that this is a nice option if you're looking for something a little bit more affordable and you don't mind a super scented face powder. The last one I want to mention is the Milani Make It Last setting powder. This one comes in 4 shades. It's supposed to be a super ultra fine translucent loose powder. It's meant to set your makeup and extend the wear of your makeup. This one's nice. I feel like it's so super similar to the e.l.f. matte setting powder. Honestly, if I wore them next to each other, I don't notice that I would see, or I don't know that I would see a big difference. I feel like they're basically interchangeable. So if there is a shade in the e.l.f. one or the Milani one that appeals to you a little bit more, that might influence your purchasing decision. The Milani powder is $11. The e.l.f. powder is $6. So e.l.f. is a lot less expensive, but sometimes you have easier access to Milani or e.l.f. depending on where you live. So again, everything I said about the e.l.f. powder is pretty much true of the Milani powder. It is a nice lightweight matte setting powder. I think they do work well, especially if you take like a large fluffy brush and just blend them all over your skin. They don't feel heavy on the skin. It doesn't look like you have a ton of powder. It's just very lightweight and does a good job at setting your foundation into place. So those are all of the powders that I currently own. Pressed powders, loose powders. Like I said, I've probably tried 2 or 3 times the amount of these powders. I just don't currently have them in my collection. So if you want me to do a follow-up video, let me know and I can just include photos. But I hope today's video was helpful if you are looking to try a new powder for whatever reason. I hope I could help you narrow down your choices. Let me know in the comment section below what your favorite powders are, whether you use them to mattify your skin, you use them as a finishing powder, or you use them as a smoothing powder. I would love to know because I do love trying out powders so much. But again, thank you guys for watching and hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye.